Welcome to a special United Nations World Food Programme India Country Office podcast. To mark the International Day of the World's Indigenous Peoples on 9th of August 2024, we spoke with Himanshu Bal, who heads the Odisha State Office of WFP in India, Aradhana Srivastav, who heads our Gender and Inclusion portfolio, and Rajshree Kanungo, who heads the Tribal Engagement in Odisha. We jumped straight into questions about what more we could do to approach engagement with indigenous communities or tribal communities, as we say in India.
To start with, Aradhana, my first question to you is, in the context of India, what issues or aspects does the WFP focuses on?
Um, Thanks, Parvinder. The tribal population in India, probably you'd be aware, is around 8.6%, which is over 100 million people. So, in terms of quantum of numbers, you can imagine the size of the communities. And they remain one of the more marginalized groups in the country, because of which they are getting a lot of special provisions and schemes from governments at the state and the central level. And WFP also contributes its bit to improve particularly the food security, nutrition, and livelihood status of these communities.
Visualize a future which is more inclusive, which addresses the needs and closes the gap that exists between the tribal communities and rest of the population. What do you look at? Do you look at a completely new future, or you think there is some kind of fusion wherein the organic strength that is there of native food systems and the tribal community learns is a learning for the mainstream system?
We have to do the same thing differently. And it's doable to achieve the target to get the all-round development of this indigenous population. But what is that we should do differently is that we have to identify the root causes, that why despite such efforts going into the system for so many decades, say from the independence in India since 1947, but what is the root cause, why it's not happening? So there has to be some changes in the implementation, and we have to now bring in technology. At the same time, we have to make efforts to change their behavior, and through social behavior and change communication, that's the need, because they are not aware. They don't know what is their entitlements. So that part has to be brought in as the major activity rather than the inputs that we have for them in various schemes. Would be a kind of sensitization among the grassroots level workers so that they connect what comes from the up to the people at the last mile, and vice versa on the outputs or outcomes. Then I would suggest that there should be enabling policy environment. Then there should be technology which should be user friendly, and at the same time there should be an attempt uh, to change the behaviors and the beliefs to adopt the changes.
So Rajshree, when we were talking earlier, I was thinking that maybe there might be some story, or there might be some kind of specific incident that makes you think about what an empowered future for the community could be like, or how the way forward could be.
Yeah, thank you. In fact, there are many stories, in fact, but I would like to highlight, since you talked about tribal women farmers, in Orissa, like, we really don't have that concept, women farmers. So farmers is generally considered a gender neutral terminology, but now I think slowly and gradually people have started understanding that women farmers issues are different from men farmers. Because I'll talk about millet, Odisha Millet Mission. That's one of the schemes that government of Odisha is having in collaboration with Mission Shakti. Basically, it has a women empowerment aspect in it. So women SHGs are being funded, and also are provided capacity strengthening trainings in tribal areas. So I had visited to one of those fields in Moyurbhanj districts, and the women were talking about the kind of drudgery they have to go through when they are, cultivating millets, especially processing. Most of the work that comes to when it's millet cultivation, a lot of work is done by women farmers rather than male farmers. So they need gender sensitive technology, because now Odisha Millet Mission is introducing equipments and giving them equipments which should be gender sensitive. And I think Odisha Millet Mission has taken up that issue and they have started doing that. That's a way forward, and that is something really, I am really looking forward to see what kind of gender sensitive equipment they're going to come up with.
Between knowledge generation, policy recommendations, and building pilots to show that it can work, WFP has this proven ability to bring different stakeholders together and then also walk the talk. When it comes to specifically the portfolio that you're leading right now on making sure that the specific contextual needs of the tribal communities in different states with regards to livelihood, gender empowerment, nutrition, and various important aspects that you work on, and then taking it forward. So, what are the challenges that you see, and what are some of the kind of highlights or positive aspects that you feel hopeful about?
Parvinder, one of the key challenges I feel is the fact that we don't really talk to the tribal people about what they want. Whether it is the government, and honestly, even among the UN, I find this a lot, that we assume that this is what they want, and then we prepare a package and we take it to them, and we're like, here we are to provide you with what you need. But probably what we really need to be is more participatory. We need to talk to them, understand their concept. Their worldviews are totally different. Sometimes we and more increasingly, as I attend meetings and consultations on all these issues, and the one voice that is missing from all of this discussion is that of the tribal person. We really need to include more, whether it is organizations that are led by tribals, or we have some really significant voices, and thankfully those voices are coming up, that are of the tribals and by the tribals, and they are able to increasingly voice their concern, because it's not easy for them to simply you construct a road, or you give them a bigger or a more fertile kind of a piece of land to work on, or um, set up an industry and you want them to work there, but is it really what the kind of livelihood that they wanted?
This concludes the special podcast. As all three speakers emphasized, it is crucial to implement targeted interventions that address the nutritional and food security requirements of the tribal community. Their active participation in this process and the enhancement of native food systems are essential for building resilience against the impacts of climate change. Thank you for listening.